The colony of Keshtar was quiet when the scream cut through the metal streets. It was a small sound at first, thin and sharp, like glass breaking. Then it became louder. Pain, fear, a child's cry. People turned away. In the dust near the mining docks, an alien child lay on the ground. She was small, her skin pale blue, her eyes too large for her thin face. One of her limbs was gone, torn away by a machine that never stopped when it should have. Dark fluid soaked the ground beneath her. Workers stood in a circle, watching from a distance. No one stepped forward. "She is not our kind," one of them said quietly. "Low caste," another replied. "Not worth the risk." The child reached out with her remaining hand, fingers shaking, eyes begging. Her voice grew weaker with every breath. At the edge of the crowd stood a human. His name was Evan Hale. He wore a stained work jacket and boots repaired too many times. He was not important here. Humans never were. On Keshtar, humans fixed broken doors, old engines, and tools that aliens did not want to touch. Evan heard the child's cry and felt something tighten inside his chest. He pushed through the crowd. "What happened?" he asked. No one answered. "Him." An alien medic arrived and glanced at the child. He scanned her once, then powered down his device. "She will not survive," the medic said. "And even if she did, replacement limbs are forbidden for her species." Evan stared at him. "Forbiddens?" "She's a child." The medic looked at Evan with cold eyes. "Galactic law. Alien biology must not be altered by human design. Especially not for one like her." The medic walked away. The crowd slowly followed. Within moments, the child was alone. Evan knelt beside her. Her breathing was fast and shallow. She looked at him with fear, then confusion. Humans rarely came this close. He could see how young she was. Too young to understand why no one helped. "It's okay," Evan said softly, though he knew it was not. "I'm here." She made a weak sound, almost like a question. Evan lifted her carefully. She was lighter than he expected. He knew what he was doing was dangerous. Helping her would break the law. If the authorities found out, he could lose his job, his freedom, maybe his life. But he did not stop. He carried her to his small workshop at the edge of the colony. The place smelled of oil and metal. Old human tools lined the walls. Scraps of alien tech lay on the tables. Evan placed her on a clean surface and worked quickly. He stopped the bleeding as best he could. He used what little medical knowledge he had. The child survived the night. Barely. By morning, word had spread. Aliens whispered in the streets. "The human took the broken one. He thinks he can fix her." Humans always think too much of themselves. Colony officials came to Evan's door. They warned him. "You are being watched," one said. "Return the child. Do not interfere." Evan said nothing. Inside the workshop, the child slept. Her face was calm now, but her body was still weak. Evan watched the slow rise and fall of her chest. He knew something the others did not. Humans were different. Where other species followed rules without question, humans asked why. Where others accepted limits, humans pushed against them. Humans fixed what was broken, because they could not stand to leave it that way. Evan looked at the child's missing limb. Alien science had tried for centuries to solve this problem, and failed. They said it was impossible. They said it was forbidden. Evan did not hear impossible. He heard a challenge. He began to design, not with anger, not with pride, but with care. If he failed, the child would die anyway. If he succeeded, everything could change. As the sun of Keshtar rose over the colony, Evan spoke quietly, more to himself than to anyone else. "If your science won't save her," he said, his hands already moving toward his tools, "then mine will." And far away, unseen and unnoticed, a signal left the planet, heading straight Toward the throne of a queen who would soon come looking for answers. The workshop stayed dark long after the colony went to sleep. Only a single light burned above Evan's table. It flickered as old power lines struggled to keep up. Metal parts were spread everywhere, human tools mixed with alien scraps. Nothing here belonged together, yet Evan believed it could. The alien child lay on a padded surface near the wall. Her breathing was steady now, but weak. Every few minutes her fingers twitched, as if she were dreaming of running again. Evan watched her for a moment, then turned back to his work. He had already broken one law by taking her. What he planned next would break many more. Human-made limbs were allowed only for humans. Alien biology was protected by strict rules. The Galactic Council feared contamination, imbalance, and loss of control. To them, mixing human design with alien bodies was dangerous. To Evan, doing nothing was worse. He pulled up old files on a cracked screen. Human prosthetics, neural links, pressure sensors, balance systems. He studied alien anatomy charts beside them, comparing every detail. Different bone structure, different nerve patterns, different muscle response. Most humans would have given up. Evan leaned closer. "Okay," he whispered. "Let's listen." He scanned the child's body gently, mapping where nerves once connected. The readings were unstable. Alien nerves reacted faster than human ones. Too fast. A normal human limb would overload her system. So Evan adjusted the design. He rewrote code. He softened the response. He added layers of control, like teaching a hand to move slowly before letting it run. Outside, rain began to fall against the metal roofs of the colony. Inside, Evan's hands shook from tiredness, but he did not stop. He used alloy scraps left behind by richer species, materials they considered useless. To Evan, they were perfect, strong, flexible, light. As the shape of the limb slowly formed, doubts crept in. What if it failed? What if it hurt her? What if it worked, and the colony punished them both? Evan looked at the child again. Her eyes opened slightly. She watched him in silence. She was not afraid. That scared him more than anything. By morning, the limb was finished. It did not look impressive. No bright colors, no royal symbols. Just smooth metal, soft joints, and a design meant to match the child's body as closely as possible. Evan knelt beside her. "This might hurt," he said gently, even though he did not know if she understood his words. "But I won't leave." He connected the limb. At first, nothing happened. Then the child screamed. The sound echoed through the workshop. Evan felt panic rise in his chest. He checked the connections, the flow, the signals. Everything looked right. "Easy," he said, his voice shaking. "Please, easy." The scream stopped. The child's eyes went wide. Her new limb twitched. Once, twice, then slowly. Carefully, she lifted it. Evan froze. She moved it again. This time with control. Her breathing grew faster, not from pain, but from surprise. She pushed herself upright. The limb held. The child stood for a moment. Neither of them moved. Then she laughed. It was a soft sound, broken and strange but full of life. She took a small step forward. Then another. Tears filled Evan's eyes before he could stop them. "It works," he whispered. "It really works." The door to the workshop slammed open. Aliens flooded in. Workers, officials, even the medic who had walked away the day before. They stared. The child stood in the center of the room, balanced and alive, her new limb shining under the light. Silence followed. Then anger. "You broke the law," one official shouted. "You altered alien flesh with human hands." The medic stepped closer, scanning the limb with wide eyes. "This design, this should not be possible." Evan stood between them and the child. "She was dying," he said. "Now she's not." "That does not matter," the official snapped. This act threatens the order of the galaxy. One of the guards tapped his wrist device. A signal activated. Evan knew what that meant. A report. A priority alert. Sent far beyond the colony. Sent to those who ruled. As the child reached for Evan's hand, alarms echoed across KESH-TAR. And somewhere, in the vast darkness of space, a royal vessel changed its course, heading straight toward a human who had done the unthinkable. Morning on Keshtar came with steel boots and cold faces. Evan did not sleep. He sat beside the child while guards surrounded the workshop. Red warning lights flashed across the walls. The small room felt even smaller now, filled with weapons and authority. The child stood close to Evan, her new limb resting against his side. She sensed danger. Her grip tightened whenever a guard moved. An official stepped forward. His skin was dark green, his eyes sharp and unreadable. "You are under arrest," he said, "for violating galactic law, for illegal bioengineering, for endangering alien purity." Evan slowly raised his hands. "I saved her life," he said calmly. "That is not your right," the official replied. The medic pushed through the guards again. This time his voice shook. "I have reviewed the scans," he said. "The limb is stable, perfectly integrated. This should not be possible with human technology." The official turned on him. "Enough. Curiosity does not excuse treason." Evan felt the weight of the moment settle on his chest. He knew how this usually ended. Humans were tolerated, not respected. When humans broke rules, punishment was fast and harsh. The guards moved in. The child suddenly stepped forward. She stood in front of Evan. Her small body shook, but she did not move away. She lifted her new limb and placed it on Evan's arm, claiming him. The room went silent. "Remove the child," the official ordered. "No," Evan said firmly. "If you take me, you take her too." The official's eyes narrowed. "That can be arranged." Evan was shackled. Cold metal locked around his wrists. The guards pulled him away from the child. She cried out, a sharp sound that cut through everyone in the room. Evan turned his head as he was dragged toward the door. "I didn't do this for praise," he said. "I did it because it was right." The doors closed behind him. He was taken to a holding chamber beneath the colony center. Dark, empty, silent, the kind of place where hope went to die. Hours passed. Then a voice echoed through the chamber. "Human Evan Hawley," Evan stood. "You are accused of crimes that carry the highest punishment," the voice continued. "Execution or permanent exile." Evan said nothing. "There is confusion," the voice admitted. "The child you altered does not belong to the caste we believed." That made Evan look up. "She is registered under false records," the voice said. "Her genetic signature has triggered restricted alerts." Evan's heart began to race. "Those alerts reached the galactic core," the voice continued, "and beyond." The chamber lights brightened. A holographic symbol appeared in the air. Royal authority. Evan understood immediately. Someone powerful was coming. Back on the surface, the colony fell into chaos. Officials argued. Guards doubled their patrols. Workers whispered rumors in dark corners. "The Queen is coming." "No, that's impossible. She never leaves the capital." The child was kept under heavy guard. She did not understand what was happening, only that Evan was gone. She refused to eat, refused to sit. She stood, balanced on her new limb, staring at the door. When the sky darkened again, alarms sounded across the entire colony. This time, they were different, not warning alarms. Arrival alarms. A massive shadow passed over Keshtar. A ship unlike any other descended from the stars. Its surface shimmered with ancient power and advanced design, the royal vessel. Every alien dropped to their knees. Even the officials trembled. In the holding chamber, Evan felt the ground shake beneath his feet. He heard the distant roar of engines. The voice returned one final time. "Human Evan Hawley," it said quietly. "Prepare yourself." "For what?" Evan asked. There was a pause. To stand before the Queen. Evan exhaled slowly. He thought of the child, her first steps, her laughter. Whatever happened next, he did not regret a single moment. Above him, the Queen of 1,000 Worlds stepped onto Keshtar soil, and the fate of one human, one child, and perhaps the galaxy itself was about to be decided. The entire colony of Keshtar knelt as the royal vessel settled onto the landing. Platform. Its surface glowed with soft, shifting light, older than most civilizations and far more advanced. Guards lined the platform in perfect rows. Officials stood with heads lowered, their earlier confidence gone. The ramp lowered slowly. Silence spread across the colony. Then the Queen appeared. She was tall, wrapped in flowing armor silk that shimmered like starlight. Her eyes were ancient and calm, holding the weight of countless worlds. Every being present felt it, the quiet pressure of absolute authority that no one spoke. The Queen stepped forward, her voice gentle but powerful. "Bring me the child." Guards moved quickly. The alien child was led onto the platform. She walked on her own. Each step was steady. Her new limb moved smoothly, perfectly balanced with her body. A ripple passed through the crowd. The Queen's gaze locked onto the limb. Her expression did not change, but her attention sharpened. She knelt before the child. This alone shocked everyone. Royalty did not kneel. The Queen studied the limb closely, her fingers hovering above it, not touching. Hidden scanners activated, reading every detail. Human code. Alien biology. Harmony where there should have been chaos. Who made this? The Queen asked softly. The child lifted her head and spoke a single word in her language. The translators activated. "Evan," a murmur spread. The Queen rose slowly. "Bring the human to me." Deep beneath the colony, Evan's cell opened. Chains were removed from his wrists, but guards still surrounded him. He was escorted upward through long corridors, past silent workers and terrified officials. When Evan stepped onto the platform, the air felt heavy. He did not kneel, not out of disrespect, but because he was too focused on the child. She saw him and ran forward. Guards moved to stop her, but the Queen lifted one hand. "Let her." The child reached Evan and hugged him tightly. Her new limb wrapped around his arm with careful strength. The Queen watched everything. "Human," she said. "You altered my people's flesh with your own design." Evan swallowed. "Yes." "You broke our most sacred law." "Yes." The Queen's eyes searched his face. "Why?" Evan took a breath. He knew lies would not save him. "She was dying," he said. Everyone else turned away. "I didn't care who she was. I just saw a child who needed help." The Queen was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke again. "Do you know who this child is?" Evan shook his head. "She is of royal blood," the Queen said. "Hidden for her protection. Her injury was not an accident." The colony officials stiffened in fear. Evan's heart sank. "I didn't know." "I know," the Queen replied. She turned to the officials. "You denied care to one of your own." They fell to their knees in terror. "You mocked the human," she continued. "You called his species weak. And yet he achieved what your greatest minds could not." The Queen stepped closer to Evan. "For centuries," she said, "we failed to create a solution for this injury. We accepted it as fate." She looked at the limb again. "You refused to accept fate." Evan met her eyes. "Humans fix what's broken." The Queen studied him carefully. Then, slowly, something changed. Not anger. Respect. Double quotes. "This limb is not a crime," the Queen said. "It is a gift." Gasps echoed across the platform. "The law you broke was written to protect us from arrogance," she continued. "But today, it protected nothing. It only revealed our shame." The queen turned back to Evan. You will not be punished. Relief hit him like a wave, but the queen was not finished. This act, she said, will change the galaxy. Above them, the stars burned quietly, unaware that a single human choice had just rewritten the future of countless worlds. The platform stayed silent after the queen's words. Evan stood still, unsure how to breathe. Around him, officials who once shouted orders now avoided his eyes. Guards who had aimed weapons at him lowered them slowly. The queen turned away from Evan and faced the colony leaders. You saw a child and chose law over life, she said. Her voice was calm, but every word carried weight. You called this human weak. You mocked him. And yet, when your science failed, his compassion succeeded. One official tried to speak. Your Majesty, the law exists to serve life, the queen interrupted. Not to excuse cruelty, she raised her hand. Guards stepped forward and removed the insignias from the officials' uniforms. Their authority vanished in seconds. Fear replaced pride. You are relieved of duty, the queen said. All of you, the crowd gasped. Evan watched in silence. He did not feel victory, only exhaustion. The queen turned back to him. Human Evan Hale, she said. You created something we believed impossible. Evan shook his head. I just used what I had. That, the queen replied, is exactly why it matters. She gestured toward the child. For generations, our people accepted that injuries like hers were permanent. We taught ourselves to endure loss instead of solving it. You did not accept that. The child stepped forward, standing proudly on her new limb. She looked at the queen, then back at Evan. She walks, the queen said softly. She lives fully. The queen paused, then spoke words that sent a ripple through every listener. From this day forward, human medical engineering will no longer be forbidden. Murmurs spread like fire. Humans will be invited to share their designs, the queen continued. Under guidance, not fear. Cooperation, not control. Evan looked up, stunned. You're changing the law because of me? The queen met his eyes. No, because of what you represent. She stepped closer. Humans see limits as problems, she said. Where we see tradition, you see possibility. That makes you dangerous and necessary. Evan swallowed. He had never heard an alien ruler speak of humans that way. The queen turned to the crowd. Let this be remembered, she announced. Not as the day a law was broken, but as the day arrogance fell. The child suddenly reached up and took the queen's hand. The crowd froze. No one had touched the queen without permission in centuries. The queen did not pull away. She looked down at the child and smiled. You are brave, she said. And you are loved. Then she looked at Evan again. You will stay, the queen said. You will teach. You will help build a future where no child is abandoned because of fear. Evan felt something heavy lift from his chest. I will, he said simply. That night, Keshtar changed. Guards brought food to Evan's workshop. Workers who once whispered insults now watched him with quiet respect. Some even bowed. The child slept peacefully, her hand resting on the fondwang metal limb that had given her a future. Evan sat beside her, staring at the stars through the workshop window. For the first time, he realized something important. This was never just about one child. It was about a galaxy that had forgotten how to care, and humanity had reminded it. Far above the colony, the queen prepared her next message, one that would reach every corner of known space. A message that said, humans are no longer just workers, they are builders of hope. And the galaxy would never look at them the same way again. The changes did not happen slowly. They came like a wave. Within days of the Queen's declaration, ships arrived at Keshtar from nearby systems. Some came with curiosity, others came with fear. All came with questions. Evan's small workshop became the center of attention. Where once it had been ignored, now guards stood outside, not to threaten, but to protect. Inside, alien engineers watched silently as Evan worked. They expected secrets, complex tricks, hidden genius. What they saw instead confused them. Evan worked carefully, simply. He explained every step. "This joint copies muscle movement," he said, pointing at a design. "No force, just balance." The alien engineers exchanged looks. "So, no control override?" one asked. Evan shook his head. "The body should lead. The machine should listen." This idea spread faster than any technology. Across the colony, attitudes began to change. Workers stopped turning away from the injured. Medics asked questions instead of refusing care. Old rules were reread with new eyes. Not everyone accepted this. Some officials, stripped of power, gathered in secret. They spoke in dark rooms, filled with anger and pride. "A human humiliated us," one hissed. "The Queen chose him over us." They watched Evan closely. They waited. The child, now stronger, each day stayed near Evan. She followed him everywhere, her steps confident. She learned human words quickly. Her laughter echoed through the workshop, something never heard there before. One evening, as the colony lights dimmed, Evan noticed something strange. The child stopped walking. She looked at her limb. Her balance shifted. Evan's heart jumped. He knelt beside her, scanning the limb quickly. The readings were wrong, signals lagged. Response slowed. "This shouldn't be happening," he whispered. The alarms sounded seconds later. Power dropped across the colony. Lights went out. Systems failed. Chaos spread. Outside, shouts echoed. "The human device is failing." "This proves it was a mistake." Evan realized the truth too late. Someone had sabotaged the power grid. Without stable energy, the limb could shut down completely. The child stumbled. Evan caught her just in time. Guards rushed in, weapons raised. "Stand back," one shouted. Evan shook his head. "No, she needs me." He carried the child to his workbench and connected emergency power manually. Sparks flew. His hands burned, but he did not stop. If this fails," a guard warned, "you will be blamed." Evan didn't answer. He focused. He adjusted the limb systems, rerouting energy the way humans always did, finding paths where none were meant to exist. Slowly, the limb stabilized. The child's breathing calmed. The alarms stopped. Silence returned. Then the Queen's voice filled the colony, calm but cold. "I am aware of the sabotage," she said. "And I am watching." Moved fast. The conspirators were found within the hour. They were brought before the Queen in chains. "You feared change," the Queen said. "So you tried to break a child to prove yourselves right." None could meet her eyes. "Your punishment will be remembered," she said. They were taken away. Later, Evan stood on the platform again, the child beside him. "You could have died," the Queen said quietly. Evan nodded. "So could she." "That answer," the Queen replied, "is why humans matter." She looked out at the stars. "Today you did more than build a limb," she continued. "You proved that human compassion does not fail under pressure, even when tested." The Queen placed a small symbol into Evan's hand, a mark of trust. "A human outpost will be built here," she said. "A place of shared learning." Evan looked at the child, then back at the Queen. "We'll make it work," he said. The Queen smiled slightly. In that moment, the galaxy learned something new. Humanity did not run when challenged. It adapted, it protected, and it refused to let hope shut down even in the dark. The stars above Keshtar looked different now, not brighter, not closer, but meaningful. Construction ships filled the sky, their lights moving like slow constellations. Where the old mining docks once stood, a new structure rose, part human design, part alien art. It was not a palace. It was not a fortress. It was a place to heal. Evan stood at the edge of the platform, watching workers from many species move together. Humans and aliens shared tools, shared plans, shared quiet conversations. No one laughed at the humans anymore. No one turned away. The child stood beside him. She was taller now, stronger. Her new limb moved as naturally as the rest of her body. She ran across the platform, stopped, then ran back, smiling wide. She could run. That simple truth still felt unreal. The Queen arrived without ceremony. No grand landing. No kneeling crowds. Just her and a small guard. "This place has a name now," she said, joining Evan. "The Unity Forge." Evan nodded. "It fits." She looked at the child. "So does she." The child bowed awkwardly, copying what she had seen others do. The Queen smiled. "You changed my people," the Queen said to Evan. "More than you know." Evan shook his head. "I just fixed what was broken." The Queen turned toward the stars. "That is what empires forget," she said. "They become so focused on control that they forget care." She paused. "Other worlds have begun to ask for humans," she continued. "Not as workers, as partners." Evan felt a weight settle on him. "They'll expect too much." "They already do," the Queen replied. "But now they expect the right things." A transmission echoed across the platform. Screens activated. Messages from distant systems filled the air. Requests, hope, fear, all mixed together. The Queen raised her hand, silencing the noise. "There will be limits," she said. "Not to stop humans, but to protect what you bring. Compassion cannot be forced. It must be chosen." Evan looked at the child again. She was drawing shapes in the dust with her metal fingers, humming softly. "She chose," he said. The Queen nodded. "She did." Later, as night fell, Evan returned to his workshop. One last time, the old tools were still there. The same walls, the same smell of oil and metal, but the place felt different. It was no longer a hiding spot. It was a beginning. The child sat beside him, watching the stars through the open door. "Stay?" she asked, her voice clearer now. Evan smiled. "Yes. I'm not going anywhere." She leaned against him, her new limb warm, steady. Far above them, ships left Keshtar, carrying something no scanner could measure. Trust. Months later, history would record this moment in many ways. Some would call it a medical breakthrough. Others would call it the fall of an old law. But humans would remember it differently. As the day a single human chose a child over fear, and the galaxy listened. Queen stood on the bridge of her vessel, preparing to depart. She looked back at the colony one last time. "Humanity," she said quietly, to no one in particular, "is not strong because they conquer." She watched the Unity Forge glow below. They are strong because they care. The stars accepted that truth without argument, and from that day on, wherever humans walked among the stars, they were no longer seen as small. They were seen as the ones who fixed what others abandoned, the ones who refused to turn away, the ones who reminded the galaxy what it meant to be alive.